Good afternoon. I am Andrea Chisholm with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. The Tourism Ministry is focusing on minimizing the impact of COVID-19 coronavirus on the industry. Portfolio Minister Edmund Bartlett is gearing up for a meeting in Germany to discuss a global response to the deadly virus. Details in this report.
Minister of Tourism Edmund Bartlett, if the period of the COVID-19 outbreak is protracted, its impact on tourism could be devastating. On Thursday, while speaking on Radio Jamaica's Beyond the Headlines, Mr. Bartlett said there is anxiety within the cruise community. Not only that, but he also admitted that the virus is already impacting the ministry's projections for this year. Therefore, the Tourism Ministry is now focusing on minimizing the impact of a potential outbreak.
The fact is, for the year so far, we're still growing, albeit at a lower rate than we had projected, but we're still growing.
Where are we now?
So we're about 2.7% over last year as we are now. But, you know, my projections are 5 by 5 by 5, right? So even though last year we did 7.7, we still want to maintain 5 by 5 by 5. And I'm now at 2.7. And that is a little concerning, yes. And I don't think that we're going to do very much beyond that, given the current situation.
Mr. Bartlett said a protocol for the prevention of the spread of the deadly virus within the tourism industry is to be implemented in a few days. Mr. Bartlett said it's important that global tourism players do not go into panic mode.
The purpose of this is to sit down now to map out a protocol in relation to how we conduct ourselves at the hotels, you know, the whole preventative regime that has to now go into place, you know, public education activities. We must have posters all over the place in the hotels indicating hygienic practices. You must wash your hands, you know, before and after, you know, sanitize, avoid contact where you may be needed, and so on and so forth. Now, a whole protocol is now being developed to be rolled out over the next few days.
He will attend a meeting next week in Germany to discuss a global response to the COVID-19.
We're going to be focusing on the coronavirus issues, its implications for tourism, and what strategic approaches we can take on a broad global basis to establish a global protocol so that we can understand what kind of threshold, if any, can be tolerable and accepted so that travel and tourism can continue to happen.
Prince Moore, TVJ News.
In the meantime, Barbados has joined several other CARICOM countries in advising nationals against travel to China and South Korea unless absolutely necessary. The Ministry of Health and Wellness said the decision to extend the advisory is based on information provided by the World Health Organization and the U.S.-based Center for Disease Control and Prevention. National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang is supporting the Jamaica Constabulary Force and how crime is handled. This follows results of the RGR Gleaner Don Anderson poll, which gave the JCF a failing grade. It showed that 6 out of every 10 Jamaicans, or 61%, said the police force was not effective in leading the fight against crime. 3 out of 10 Jamaicans, or 30%, disagreed. 9% either did not know or were not sure.
Of course, it suggests that there may be the singular, in a way, entity fighting crime, and this doesn't address the issue at all of government's involvement.
Respondents to the survey believe the Jamaica Defence Force should play a more active role in crime fighting. This was Dr. Chang's response.
It has been on the road, spread across every district in the island, and they have come under significant pressure. And oftentimes, one bad egg becomes the face of the police. And in addition to that, you find because they are the ones on the front line, they are the ones who are usually attacked on issues of, you know, inappropriate response, charge of corruption, and these issues now become almost, begin to make the image of the police.
The private sector organization president is surprised that most Jamaicans object to some forms of privatization of government assets. In the RJR-Galena Don Anderson poll, 76% of respondents believed the government should not sell its stake in the Jamaica Public Service Company and Trans-Jamaican Highway. Former PSOJ President Howard Mitchell reacted to the findings.
I speculate that it is distrust, that they feel that by privatization, the ownership of the government entities would necessarily go into a few private hands. But my understanding, and maybe that understanding has not been communicated well to the public, is that the management of the issue would be such that the ownership would be a broad-based public ownership. So I am a little surprised at the reaction, but I feel that perhaps it arises from ignorance as to the real process by which privatization is going to occur.
The poll also showed that 52% of Jamaicans agree with the listing state-owned companies on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Mr. Mitchell says there is a role for the government, the stock exchange, and the private sector.
Have a responsibility to explain, to make our citizens, to help our citizens to be more financially aware and to be aware of the benefits of the public market, the benefits of ownership, which is ownership and management, which is motivated by profit and prudent governance. And I think that process needs to be accelerated.
1,038 persons were surveyed for the RJR-Galena Don Anderson poll. It was done between February 8 and February 18 and has a margin of error of plus or minus 3%. A student of William Knibb High in Trelawney is believed to have drowned yesterday at a river in Sherwood as his body was found moments ago. He has been identified as a 16-year-old Jonathan Eccleston. It's understood that Jonathan and 7 others went fishing when he slipped on a log and fell in the water. On Tuesday, the body of 8-year-old Kimora White was found in Dover St. Mary after she was washed away while crossing a river on her way home. And it's time for a break here on the Midday News, but stay with us. We have more stories right after these messages. Welcome back, and we're continuing the news. The independent candidate contesting the Southeast Clarendon by-election is adamant his return to politics as an independent is to better the lives of residents. Derek Lambert dismissed suggestions that he's aiming to use the by-election to re-establish ties with the PNP leadership and supporters. Despite losing by just over 100 votes in 2011, Mr. Lambert was overlooked as the PNP's candidate in the 2016 general election.
I have no interest in politics apart from going in parliament and lay down my message. So that we get the land. Or at least me know, say it is on point, forget it. After that, my business will go out there to go execute what we are talking about. Because that's my interest. I have my business to go run, which I see diverse interests, including medical marijuana. You understand me? So, as regard to whether PNP are going to say, me win and you're going to call me and so on, that is irrelevant right now. Because I have no interest about no future politics. What I've been doing all my life is dealing with the people. Whether I'm the candidate or not, or caretaker, me never stop do that in my life.
In news overseas, the rapid rise in cases of COVID-19 coronavirus raised fears of a pandemic, with 6 countries with travel history to Italy reporting their first cases. They are Nigeria, Estonia, Denmark, Netherlands, Lithuania, and Mexico. In Japan, a British man who was infected on the Diamond Princess cruise ship has died, bringing the death toll among people who were aboard the vessel to 6. For the first time in decades, Iran canceled Friday prayers to limit the spread of the virus. Meanwhile, stock markets around the world are experiencing major declines amid investor fears. And in sports, the potential imposition of a travel ban from Jamaica to Japan may further jeopardize the country's participation at this summer's Tokyo Olympics. Organizers are uncertain if the Games will go ahead as planned. Japan has come under the microscope after the health ministry yesterday announced it would be restricting travel to Italy, South Korea, Singapore and Iran due to a rise in COVID-19 cases. For President of the Jamaica Athletics Administrative Association, Dr. Warren Blake, the advice of the World Health Organization would be key in coming to a decision.
Of individuals and making recommendations, even though we heard the head of the World Health Organization saying that they are not the ones to cancel any sporting event, but rather the organizers. But I'm certain that they will be having close discussions with the organizers, the IOC, and making recommendations as to whether it is safe.
Dr. Blade said the J3As would suffer financially if the Olympics are cancelled, as it acts as one of their major bargaining tools for sponsorship.
It would affect us financially as well, because one of the things that our gear sponsor looks forward to is to get some returns at the Olympic Games in terms of brand visibility and everything. And this is and our performance at these games is also taken into account when we look at bonuses that we may earn, when we look at sponsorship, at contract levels. So not to have an Olympic Games at a time when we are thinking that Jamaica should do fairly well will make it difficult for us to argue for an increase in sponsorship levels.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Join us at 7 for the Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon and have a great weekend.